The moment the early nine-star douching void-devouring flame revealed itself within the Yao clan, how desperate were Xiao Yan and everyone present? Why is it said that the Yao clan was nearly wiped out by the Hun clan, and that Yao Dan, as the clan leader, bore an inescapable share of the responsibility? Battle Through the Heavens, Episode 208, Preview. The moment has arrived. In the current story, Xiao Yan has successfully refined a Tier 9 mystic pill, earning the title of the greatest alchemist on the Douqi continent. Because of this, Yao Lao was finally able to fulfill his long-cherished wish of engraving his parents' names onto the clan monument. However, Hun Zhuzi no longer bothered to hide his true intentions. He openly demanded that Yao Dan hand over the ancient emperor Tuo Shi jade, claiming that he merely wanted to keep it safe for the Yao clan. Naturally, such a request was impossible to accept. The hot-tempered Yao Wanhuo, a 6-star Do Sheng, immediately charged forward to teach Hun Zhuzi a lesson. Instead, the latter instantly revealed his true cultivation as a 7-star Du Sheng. The terrifying energy released from his aura alone blasted Yao Wanhuo backward, leaving him coughing up blood. Witnessing this, Yao Dan finally came to his senses. Combining Hun Zhuzi's suspicious demand for the ancient jade with the fact that he had concealed his true strength, he immediately realized that the destruction of the Ling clan and the Shi clan was most likely the work of the Hun clan. But when he crushed a spatial jade slip to send a warning to the Yan clan and the Lei clan, he discovered that the entire Yao realm had already been completely sealed. In truth, from the very moment Hun Zhuzi appeared within the Yao clan, the early 9-star douching void-devouring flame, together with the 4 demon saints of the Hun clan, had already begun setting up a massive sealing formation around the Yao realm, with Hun Zhuzi occupying nearly all of Yao Dan's attention. And after fully assessing every combatant within the Yao clan, the void-devouring flame quietly completed the formation without anyone noticing. As the extermination of the Yao clan began, the void-devouring flame released countless strands of black flame that spread across the entire Yao realm. Every high-level Dozun and lower-level Dao Sheng touched by those flames was instantly burned into nothingness. To prevent unnecessary casualties among the clan members, Yao Dan, together with the clan elders, sacrificed countless precious medicinal ingredients to activate the clan's supreme defensive formation, the Heavenly Transformation Medicine Formation. The formation enveloped the entire sacred medicine mountain and was further protected by the remnant soul of the Yao Emperor, whose strength had reached the late 8-star Du Sheng level. Everyone believed this would be enough to halt the Hun clan's invasion. Yet when the true body of the void-devouring flame finally descended, everyone present was left completely stunned. The first to be shocked was Xiao Yan. The aura emanating from the void-devouring flame was even stronger than that of the Yao Emperor's remnant soul. It was also the first time in his life that Xiao Yan had encountered such an overwhelmingly powerful heavenly flame. Even little Yi, the flame spirit within his body, instinctively regarded it as a terrifying enemy. At that moment, neither Xiao Yan nor Yao Lao had any doubt that escaping the Hun clan's encirclement alive would be extraordinarily difficult. From the very beginning of the battle, the Yao Emperor's remnant soul struggled to withstand the void-devouring flame's assault. Meanwhile, Yao Dan and countless members of the Yao clan continuously poured their Du Qi into the formation. However, the void-devouring flame simply devoured every member of the Yao clan outside the Medicine Mountain. The sight caused everyone's eyes to split with rage. Those were not just a few people, they numbered in the millions. Even Xiao Yan, who had never been particularly fond of the Yao clan, could not help but sigh. The methods of the void-devouring flame are simply too cruel. It won't even spare innocent clansmen. After absorbing the power of their bloodline, the void-devouring flame combined it with its own early 9-star Du Sheng cultivation, and completely defeated the late 8-star Du Sheng Yao Emperor remnant soul. At that instant, every member of the Yao clan, including Yao Lao, suddenly froze. They could all clearly feel the Dodi bloodline, once the pride of their clan, quietly fading away from within their bodies. With bloodshot eyes, Yao Dan stood rooted to the spot in utter despair. Even Yao Lao, who had never felt particularly attached to the Yao clan, found his eyes growing moist. To every member of the Yao clan, the Yao Emperor's remnant soul was a godlike existence. Yet now the very faith upon which they had relied had collapsed beneath the attacks of the void-devouring flame. At the same time, dou qi silently circulated within Xiao Yan's body as he summoned the Northern King, waiting for the right opportunity to escape. This was the greatest crisis Xiao Yan had faced in all his years of cultivation. Even he had no confidence that he could break free from the Hun clan's encirclement alive, because the void-devouring flame had suffered minor injuries during its battle with the Yao Emperor's remnant soul. The 4 demon saints of the Hun clan, each possessing late 7-star Dusheng strength, split into 2 groups. Hun Sha and Hun Tu remained outside to assist the void-devouring flame in reinforcing the sealing formation. Meanwhile, under Hun Shuzi's orders, Hun Jing and Hun Yan carried out a one-sided massacre of the Yao clan. The gap in strength between the 2 sides was simply too overwhelming. The Yao clan had no chance to resist. Yao Tian and Yao Ling could only watch helplessly as their parents were slain before their very eyes by the Hun clan. In order to preserve the last hope for the clan's future, Yao Dan entrusted the younger generation of the Yao clan to Xiao Yan. Then he led all of the clan elders to the weakest point of the Great Formation, where they all self-destructed. In the end, with the entire Yao realm collapsing around him, and the Hun clan's encirclement tightening with every passing second, Xiao Yan was left with only one final option. Within his palm, 8 different heavenly flames began to converge. Each flame carried a terrifying power of its own, and under normal circumstances, even the slightest imbalance between them could cause an explosion, powerful enough to destroy Xiao Yan before it ever reached his enemy. Yet at that moment, hesitation meant death not only for him, but also for the last surviving hopes of the Yao clan. Gritting his teeth, Xiao Yan forcefully fused the 8 flames together. Violent waves of energy erupted from his body as the flames resisted one another, twisting, colliding, and threatening to break free from his control. Space itself began to distort around him. Even the surrounding Dosheng experts could feel the destructive force rapidly taking shape. Then amid the chaos, the 8-colored destruction fire lotus was finally born. The brilliant fire lotus spun slowly in Xiao Yan's hand, beautiful yet horrifying, like a divine flower created solely for destruction. Within its delicate petals lay enough power to reduce mountains to ash and tear apart the very fabric of space. Without the slightest hesitation, Xiao Yan hurled it toward the weakest point of the sealing formation. The next instant, the entire Yao realm was drowned beneath an earth-shattering explosion. 8 colors of flame surged across the sky like a raging ocean. The sealing formation established by the Hun clan trembled violently beneath the impact, while enormous cracks spread across the surrounding space. Even with the void-devouring flame and the 4 demon saints reinforcing the barrier, the overwhelming destructive force of the fire, Lotus still managed to tear open a narrow breach. It was only a tiny crack. It could close at any moment. But to Xiao Yan and the surviving members of the Yao clan, it was their one and only path to life. Seizing the opportunity created by Yao Dan and the clan elder's final sacrifice, Xiao Yan pushed his speed to the absolute limit, carrying the remaining young talents of the Yao clan with him. He rushed toward the breach before the Hun clan could react. Behind them, the sacred land of the Yao clan continued to burn. Countless clansmen had already fallen. The medicine mountains that had stood for generations were collapsing, while the once glorious Yao realm was slowly being swallowed by darkness and black flames. In the end, Xiao Yan managed to lead only a small portion of the Yao clan's younger generation out of the sealed space. They had survived, but their home, their elders, and nearly their entire bloodline had been left behind. The price of that escape was almost beyond imagination. One could certainly accuse the Yao clan of arrogance. For countless years, they had stood at the peak of the alchemist world. Their ancient bloodline, their mastery of pill refinement, and their status as one of the great ancient clans had filled many of their members with pride. They looked down upon outsiders and believed that the glory left behind by their ancestors would protect them forever. That arrogance may have blinded them. It may even have played a part in their destruction. But no one could ever question the courage or dignity of the Yao clan in its final moments. When the Hun clan descended upon them, they were not merely facing a powerful enemy. They were facing the complete annihilation of their race. Their defenses had been shattered, their ancestors' remnant soul had been destroyed, and even the Dodi bloodline they had taken pride in for generations was fading from their bodies. The Hun clan offered them a chance to surrender. They could have lowered their heads. They could have abandoned their honor in exchange for a few more years of life. Yet not a single member of the Yao clan chose to survive in disgrace. The elders burned their remaining strength without hesitation. The warriors fought even when they knew victory was impossible. The ordinary clansmen refused to kneel, while Xiao Dan himself chose to entrust the future of the clan to the younger generation before leading the elders in a final act of self-destruction. They knew they could not save the Yao clan of the present, so they sacrificed themselves to preserve the Yao clan of the future. Their bodies were destroyed, their homeland was lost, and their ancient glory was reduced to ruins, but their pride remained unbroken until the very end. However, when looking back at this tragedy, one question cannot be avoided. Could all of this have been prevented? Hun Shuzi had entered the Yao clan grand ceremony as a guest. Because of his identity as an alchemist and his carefully concealed strength, he was able to observe the Yao clan from within. He learned the location of their strongest experts, assessed the power of their defensive formations, and drew nearly all of Xiao Dan's attention toward himself. More importantly, his presence gave the void-devouring flame enough time to secretly surround the Yao realm and complete the massive ceiling formation. By the time Xiao Dan finally realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. The entire Yao realm had been cut off from the outside world. No warning could be sent. No reinforcements could enter, and no one could escape. Had Xiao Dan rejected Hun Shuzi's request to attend the ceremony from the very beginning, the situation might have unfolded very differently. Without Hun Shuzi inside the Yao realm, the Hun clan would not have been able to determine the Yao clan's true strength so easily. More importantly, the void-devouring flame would have had no way of knowing whether powerful experts from the Yan clan, the Lei clan, or even the Gu clan were secretly present at the ceremony. The Hun clan was ruthless, but it was not reckless. Even with the void-devouring flame's early 9-star Dusheng strength, launching a direct attack without first confirming the movements of the other ancient clans would have been an enormous risk. What if Gu Yuan had been present? What if the Yan clan and the Lei clan had sent their strongest experts? What if the assault on the Yao clan had turned into a trap that drew the Hun clan into a battle against several ancient clans at once? As long as those possibilities remained uncertain, the void-devouring flame might not have dared to reveal itself so openly. At the very least, the Hun clan would have been forced to delay its attack, giving the Yao clan more time to notice the danger, strengthen its defenses, or seek an alliance with the other ancient clans. That is why Xiao Dan, despite his bravery in the final battle, could not completely escape responsibility for the disaster. He underestimated Hun Shuzi. He trusted too deeply in the power and prestige of the Yao clan, and by the time he recognized the true intentions of the Hun clan, the enemy had already placed the blade against his clan's throat. Perhaps the destruction of the Yao clan was part of the Hun clan's plan from the very beginning. Perhaps the battle was inevitable. But had Xiao Dan been more cautious, had he refused Hun Shuzi entry, or had he recognized the warning signs sooner, then the Yao clan might not have been trapped so completely. Millions of clansmen might not have died in a single day. The Yao Emperor's remnant soul might not have been destroyed. And one of the greatest ancient clans on the Doqi continent might not have vanished in such a tragic and humiliating manner. In the end, the fall of the Yao clan was not merely the result of the Hun clan's cruelty. It was also a painful lesson about arrogance, misplaced confidence, and the terrible cost of realizing the truth one step too late.